There is a blessing in everything. Behind every moment of adversity in your life, there is a blessing and a lesson. Every moment of adversity has those two things. Pain always leaves a gift. Sometimes the breakup is the blessing. See, sometimes you got to get rid of a man in order for God to give you the man that you really need. You just have to hang in there. He might have something better for you. Don't worry about the people that God has removed from your life. He saw things you didn't see. He heard conversations you couldn't hear, and he made moves you wouldn't make. And that's it.
What do you do when what God gave you to ride in starts coming apart? Do you give up hope? Do you walk away? I don't want you to define success or to ask God to preserve the temporary. See, God promised to get you there, but he didn't say how. And if you're not careful, you will put all your energy and you'll put all of your work into preserving something that God only gave you for a season. God brings some people in your life to get you from point A to point B. The thing you was counting on to get you to the other side. The job you thought you'd retire with. The house you thought you'd have the rest of your life. And the storm got it. How many of you have lost some stuff in the storm? Lost some people in the storm, and it made you feel like a failure. It was a temporary blessing. If it was meant to stay, it couldn't leave. You're in love with what you had. And you think that if your life does not retain the shape that you started with, you don't think that it can get you where you're going. I have learned that every blessing doesn't come to stay. Every friend is not going to be a lifelong friend. And if they walk away, don't stand there and cry over what was, because if you'd have needed them for the future, they would have stayed.
God put people in your life for a reason. Others are there for a season. And it's very important that you recognize when people's seasons are over. God put people in your life for a reason. Other people are there for a season. Is the season over? Or have you decided because you're desperate, because you just need validation, you need all of these people and things around you, you've decided to drag these random people into the new season of your life? You have a boat. Your boat is at its capacity. And in order for your boat to not sink and go underwater, and that could be your career, that could be your life, that could be your personal life, your relationships, is that relationship over? Do you feel mentally, spiritually, and emotionally stimulated in that relationship? Are you just holding on to it because you got this concept of loyalty that you have overused and overabused? Well, I've learned that loyalty has an expiration date. Loyalty isn't some open-ended thing that just goes on forever, because technically some people just don't really make sense for your life and the new season, the mind and the space that you're in. Think about this. This is a reminder that loyalty has an expiration date. You ever been in a relationship with some folks 3 years ago, and then you run into them and then you like, man, what was I thinking dating her or dating him? And you almost want to beat yourself up for even the fact that you were in love or had all of these ridiculous feelings for this person. That shows you right there that loyalty has an expiration date. You could never see yourself not being with that person. But at a certain point, all of the signs and wonders revealed itself that that relationship is over. So if you had drugged that person, those people, those friends, into the new season of your life wouldn't be going as well as it's going right now.
We all have things happen to us in life that we don't understand. Doors that have closed, or people that have turned on us. It's easy to live frustrated and fight against everything we don't like. We think that it's holding us back. Everything serves His plan. Not just the good things. The person that walked away is serving His plan. If that wouldn't have happened, you couldn't reach your destiny. What you couldn't see was God had something better. You may not like it, it doesn't seem fair, but it's serving His plan. When you understand that everything serves His plan, then you won't live frustrated. You won't get upset because you didn't get your way. The person that walked away wasn't a coincidence, it was God moving them away. We need to see difficulties in a new light. How do you know that closed door, that disappointment, is not setting you up for something that you've never seen? The scripture says our steps are being ordered by the Lord. If you weren't supposed to be there, you wouldn't be there. Don't be upset over that person that's trying to make you look bad. You need them to reach your destiny. It wasn't a coincidence. It's positioning you for something bigger. Sometimes it's going to feel like you're going backwards. You have to trust Him when you don't understand. All things work together for good to those that love the Lord. Now the test, while it's not good, will you stay in faith? When it's unfair, will you believe that God is still on the throne? That what He started in your life, He's going to finish? God will use people being against you to move you into your purpose. You need people that try to throw you into the pit so you can take your throne. People can't override what God has ordained for you. I wonder if you're upset over something that's serving His plan. A person that walked away. Doesn't make sense. Stay in peace. It's all a part of the plan. God knows what you're going to need in the future. Many of the challenges that you're facing now, they don't have anything to do with now. It's positioning you for something in your future. You will see how God will begin to connect the dots. Instead of being bitter, have a new perspective. It's serving His plan. The betrayal, the closed doors can be discouraging. It's not working against you, it's working for you. God will never close a door without opening a bigger and a better door. If you'll keep the right attitude, one day you'll look back, Lord, thank you for closing that door. Thank you for moving that person out of my life. I would have never met my amazing spouse. We don't grow in the good times. Everyone is for us. Things are falling into place. We grow when it's difficult, when we have to stretch. That's why you can't pray away every challenge. If the situation is not changing, then God is using the situation to change you. If God made everything easy for us, we wouldn't be ready for where we're going. God has amazing things in your future. But to get there, you're going to have to defeat some big giants, outlast some strong opposition. You have to stand strong and show the opposition that you're more determined than they are. That challenge is not going to defeat you, it's going to promote you. Instead of complaining about what's not turning around, see that as an opportunity to develop your faith. Keep doing the right thing when the wrong thing is happening. Keep thanking God when you don't see any sign of it. His grace doesn't mean He's going to remove every challenge. It means He's going to increase your strength so it doesn't feel as difficult. Now you can handle what you couldn't handle in the past. What used to bother you doesn't bother you anymore.
God has a plan. You will grow through what you go through. Everything that you're going through, at some point, it makes no sense to you right now. But at some point, God is going to reveal to you why all of these issues, challenges, and problems continue to show up, and what you were supposed to learn from it.
Understanding self-worth is the beginning of progress. Self-worth should be easy. If one of us can do it, all of us can do it. If anybody can think it, we all can think it. I can read, you can read. I can understand, you can understand. From where I came from, the few simple things I did and tried revolutionized my life in 5 years. There isn't anybody here that can't do it. Change from pennies to fortune. Change from nothing to something. Change from broke to rich. Anybody in this room can do it. If any of us can do it, we all can do it. That's the kind of value you should place on yourself. If Jim Rohn can understand it, I can understand it. If he can read, I can read. If he can find it, I can find it. If he can change, I can change. If he can get it done, I can get it done. That's the attitude about yourself. So valuable. Okay? Now, in transforming our lives, we don't start with attitude. We don't start with the inspiration here. We start with education. Somebody says, well, I expected you to just come get motivated today. Well, that probably won't do it. Somebody says, by now we should be standing on the chairs, waving a flag, singing the old gray mare, get going here. No, that's not where you start. Life change does not start with inspiration. Life change starts with education. You've got to be educated to the point of where you might have messed up. My teacher put it in blunt, simple language. He only went to the 9th grade in school, so he put it in simple language I could understand. He said, Mr. Owen, after 6 years living in America, healthy American male, 25 years old, been working 6 years, 1 year of college, pennies in your pocket, nothing in the bank, behind on your promises. Shoaff said, I just got one simple explanation for that. You've messed up. Now, I could understand that kind of language. Substitute a Hershey bar for an apple means you've messed up. Should walk around the block, could walk around the block, won't walk around the block. You have messed up. And all you got to go is write down through the list. Don't need some teacher to come by and tell you. Be your own best teacher saying, hey, let me make a list of some places I've messed up. Because if I let this down, that probably affects the rest. And the answer is that's true. So we don't start with inspiration, we start with education. Somebody says, well, just motivate this guy, he'll be all right. Just motivate him, get him turned on. Probably not. If the guy's an idiot, you motivate him, now you got a motivated idiot. No, he won't be all right. So we start with education. What's the first education? If it isn't going well and you live in America, you have messed up. You don't need to change countries. You say, well, the country's messed up. That's like cursing the soil and cursing the seed and the sunshine and the rain, which is all you got. Don't curse all you got. When you get your own planet, you can rearrange this whole deal. But this one, you got to take like it comes. So number 2 is attitude. Here was number 3, activity. This is the work part, the labor part, taking action. The activity is the miracle working piece. A miracle being something we don't quite understand how it works. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means we just don't quite understand how it works. Miracles work.
Now, if you don't know this quote, live by it. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery over oneself. That's Da Vinci. Da Vinci did amazing things with his life. I wanted to do equally amazing things with mine. And if that's the game that we're playing, if I can construct my belief system, if I can choose at any moment to believe something that's more empowering than I was believing the moment before, and that will actually find its way into my actions, allow me to do things that I couldn't do the moment before, then it's like that moment in the Matrix where Neo realizes he knows Kung Fu. And that's like, as funny as that is, that's how I think about life. To me, the very fundamental purpose of life is to find out how many skills I can acquire that have utility, and then put that utility to the test in service of something greater than myself. How many skills can I acquire that have utility, put that utility to the test in service of something greater than myself? That is for me the purpose of life. Now, I don't actually want to know Kung Fu. That is not the mission that I'm here to live. But I knew that I had to identify my mission. So what was going to be my mission? Mother Teresa has an amazing quote. Nobody will act for the many, but people will act for the one. And that really struck me because I realized they were right. I was looking at this global pandemic of ill health and I wasn't moving into action, but thinking about my mom and my sister or the uncle I had who ate himself to death when I was 12 years old. That made me want to act.
Can you describe what you mean by going into the darkness? I can. All right. So going into the darkness, I think everybody is motivated by two different things. One, you have the beautiful things in your life, the things that are going well, the things that you're grateful for, the things you're moving towards instead of away. You have a compelling vision of your future. It's something that you're very excited about. All of those things are the beautiful things. Now, the flip side of that equation are the things that, it's people that doubt you, it's haters, it's things you're moving away from, it's fear-based things, it's something that you absolutely refuse to let happen. So one that is incredibly potent to me are the people that want to see me fail. So it's very different than people who just think you're going to fail. I actually don't have a lot of aggression towards people like that, but people that want me to fail, those people I have a lot of aggression for. And I find in very acute moments, the darkness serves you better. In very acute moments. Now, the light, the things you're moving towards, the things that are beautiful, the things that you're grateful for, all of that is the only winning strategy long term, because the darkness becomes corrosive. You start to become bitter. You start to be angry. You stop being optimistic. You stop seeing things in a way that's empowering and positive. And I mean, just thinking about the deep limbic system, when it gets inflamed, you perceive things as negative. I think negativity stops people from making progress. There's a whole host of neurological reasons and sort of mindset reasons why I think that being negative over the long run becomes very, very detrimental and holds you back. But from an acute standpoint, they've done studies on this. If you want someone to be able to endure more pain, the surest way to get people to endure more pain is to let them get angry, let them be aggressive. And in doing that, people are able to withstand in the clinical trials. I'll say there's probably more than this, but in clinical trials, they're able to withstand 30% more pain. So just straight being able to take more pain, anger and aggression lets you do 30% more. So that's why I think in acute ways, in short-term bursts, that the darkness will serve you.
The question always is, why do something? Because doing nothing is easy. You just sit there and you don't do anything. That's real easy. The question is, why would you ever do anything? And the answer to that has to be because you've determined by some means that it's worthwhile. And then the next question might be, well, where should you look for worthwhile things? And one would be, well, you could consult your own temperament. And the other would be, well, you kind of look at what it is that people accrue that's valuable across the lifespan. So you do a structural analysis of the subcomponents of human existence, and I already did that. You need a family, you need friends. Like, you don't need to have all these things, but you better have most of them. Family, friends, career, educational goals, plans for, time outside of work, attention to your mental and physical health, etc. That's what life is about. And if you don't have any of those things, well, then all you've got left is misery and suffering. So that's a bad deal for you. So once you set up that goal structure, let's say, and that's really in many ways that's what you should be doing at university. That's exactly what you should be doing, is trying to figure out who it is that you're trying to be, right? And you aim at that, and then you use everything you learn as a means of building that person that you want to be. And I really mean want to be. I don't mean should be, even those things are going to overlap. And it's important to distinguish between those, because that's partly, and this is back down to the micro routine analysis. So as I was saying, well, you're going to try to make yourself more industrious. Okay, number one, specify your damn goals, because how are you going to hit something if you don't know what it is? That isn't going to happen. And often people won't specify their goals too, because they don't like to specify conditions for failure. So if you keep yourself all vague and foggy, which is real easy, because that's just a matter of not doing as well, then you don't know when you fail. And people might say, well, I really don't want to know when I fail because that's painful. So I'll keep myself blind about when I fail. That's fine, except you'll fail all the time then. You just won't know it until you've failed so badly that you're done. And that can easily happen by the time you're 40. So I would recommend that you don't let that happen. So that's willful blindness, right? You could have known, but you chose not to. Okay, so once you get your goal structure set up, you think, okay, if I could have this life, looks like that might be worth living, despite the fact that it's going to be, you know, anxiety provoking and threatening, and there's going to be some suffering and loss involved and all of that. Obviously, the goal is to have a vision for your life such that, all things considered, that justifies your effort. Adopt the mode of authentic being. And that is something like refusing to participate in the lie, in deception in the lie, to orient your speech as much as you can towards the truth, and to take responsibility for your own life and perhaps also for the lives of other people. And there's something about that that's meaningful and responsible and noble, but also serves to mitigate the very suffering that produces, say, the nihilism or the flee into the arms of or the escape into the arms of totalitarians to begin with. You need something to shelter you against your own vulnerability.
You must understand that failure is required. There can be no victory without a struggle attached to it. You don't deserve a victory without a failure. Failure does exactly what is necessary to make you better, to put you on the path at the right moment. And just because you fail, it doesn't mean that it's over. But when you get pushed back, you come back. You come back strong. You come back with the willingness. You come back with a purpose. Do not be afraid to fail. Failure is required. Champions cannot be champions without failures. And when that opportunity comes for you to rise up with a full heart. Don't let it confuse you. Don't let it misuse you. Don't just accept it, but understand it. What good is a victory? What good is a win if you don't fail? You gotta understand that this is what life is all about. Failure. What is it doing to you now?
When I think about the word dominate, I think about all the synonyms: to pursue, prevail, think, execute, and dominate. When I played college basketball, I sat there on the bench and I was very frustrated. Sometimes I had a bad attitude, but eventually I got my attitude together and I began to realize, you know what? If I just dominate the role my coach gives me, maybe that will position me to get promoted. So when he gave me 5 minutes, I dominated those 5 minutes, and that promoted me to 10 minutes. When I dominated for 10 minutes, that promoted me to 15 minutes. Before I knew it, I carved out a niche and I dominated. I became the top 6 man in the country. If we look around the business world, we have household names, and they're only household names because they dominate their industry. I need you to dominate every single day you go to work. If you're a company, you created a niche, your job now that you have the niche is to dominate your industry until you become a household name. I did no different when we started our speaking business. I got paid $25 in gift certificates the first time I spoke.
It's certainly something worth considering. And what is nothingness? Well, Alan Watts summed it up more than eloquently in a statement he made when he said that nothing is what your head looks like to your eyes, and that nothingness is what's watching. And I truly can't think of a better description. Nothingness and consciousness coexists in that space behind your eyes. You can't have something here without having that nothing there. So you need to be aware of that nothingness, the nothingness that lies behind your eyes, because it is within that nothingness that lies consciousness. And it's all connected. It's connected to ourselves, it's connected to each other, and it's connected to everything in the universe. You need to open your minds to see this. And once you've seen it, the more you can begin to realize it. And the more you realize it, you can quite literally feel it physically. It's like a warmth and a rise in frequency in your body. The true realization that there is no other. There is only one, and all that truly exists within that singularity is love. There are only two human emotions, love and fear. All other emotions stem either directly or indirectly from these two base emotions. But fear is an illusion created by this reality, because all that truly exists within the singularity is love. That's all there is, and love is all there can possibly be, because there is only one. There is only the singularity. So how can there be any other emotion at all? Indeed, how can there even be any concept of emotion? Within the singularity there exists only the singularity, and the singularity is love. There is nothing else.
What we've been developing is a population of emotionally weak people who perceive themselves in terms of victims. When you have challenges in life and you meet them, it brings something out of you. So, for instance, when my arthritis came, and I didn't know what else am I going to do at that time. I wanted to be a footballer. I wanted to be a footballer since I was a kid. And now my joints are swelling up, and they're telling me I'm going to have to pack it in. Now, I thought, I'm not packing it in. I want to give it a go. So I went to a club called Hereford United that was a league club then. And I played the whole season with rheumatoid arthritis. Every morning when we were training and warming up for training on cold English mornings, I was in agony. And I would be limping and what have you, and the players would say, "Oh, what's wrong now, Ike?" And I would give a different excuse. "Oh, I've got a bit of a pull. Oh, I think I've got a bit of a blister." But actually it was the same thing all the time. And I played the season out, and eventually it got so bad that I couldn't carry on. But it brought something out of me, this determination not to give up and not to give in. And then I decided, because when I was a kid, I was always reading newspapers, and I was very interested in journalism. So I became a journalist, and long story short, I eventually became a television presenter.
Well, very well known back then.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was a national television presenter in those days. And when I look at my life now, you see, and what I'm doing, my life before, which appeared to be a series of random events. Same with you. You've had your challenges in life. What has it done? It's made you the person you are. You wouldn't be the person you are now without them. Mm-hmm. And people say, "Well, I regret that. I regret that." Well, the thing to regret is if you don't learn from the experience. That's the regret. But learning from the experience, well, you've had a gift. What are you regretting for? And so I went into journalism because I was very interested in that. And I eventually became this television presenter. And when you look at my life, as I was saying, all the different elements of it, including going into journalism and seeing the media for what it is, going into politics with the Green Party and seeing politics for what it is, well, I didn't know at the time, but they were all giving me very, very important understandings that would be useful later on. And then what happened is, this is a kind of bizarre story, but it happened. I was in the Green Party, and I was still working for the BBC as a television presenter, and both were leaving me completely cold. The BBC, it's not a great organisation to work for if you care about the truth, and you care about more than the official version of everything. And I also was looking at the Green Party politics from the inside and seeing that it was just like every other party. And so what do I do with my life now? Because I can't go on with either of these. And what happened was a very strange thing happened, because in the early part of, what would it be, 1989, I started having this feeling that when I was in a room alone, I wasn't alone. And there was an atmosphere there. There's something there. And through 1989, this got more and more and more powerful.
And to surround yourself with people who believe the same and who are rejoicing in your accomplishments and unhappy when you fail, right? And you're comparing yourself to your accomplishments of yesterday and not to someone else's today, so that you're not jealous and bitter. And you put your own house in order so that you're not cursing the world when some of its disarray might be your fault. And you're trying to pursue something meaningful, and you're doing your best to tell the truth and all of that. And then you see what happens. Who the hell are you? You think you're a miracle of some bloody bizarre sort. We've been around for 3.5 billion years. Every single one of your relatives propagated successfully. And here you are, against all possible odds, in this world of hell in some sense. bitterness and tyranny and malevolence. And yet God only knows what's inside you, this capacity for consciousness, the capacity to confront potential and to turn it into something good. That's us, man. That's the Western story. That's the individual as the cornerstone of the state. That's our responsibility, and it really is who we are. And so we need to know that, and we need to remember it, and we need to act it out. And then maybe we can see what we can do about it, you know? And see how good we could make things. And maybe that would be the purpose of your damn life, right? Not to be happy. It's like, there's problems to be solved. Be happy after you solve the goddamn things, right? So I learned, because I looked at dark things, that I learned that the light was more powerful than the darkness as far as that I was concerned, and that people were capable, each of us, of remarkable things, and that we need to know that that's what we are. We're this consciousness that confronts potential with all its catastrophe. That's what we are. That's what makes us in the image of God. That's what gives us our intrinsic value. And that idea that we have intrinsic value, that's the bedrock presupposition of our state. We're going to question that, or we're going to live it out. Better to live it out. Find out who you are. Thank you very much. You might be say that someone who is incapable of cruelty is a higher moral being than someone who is capable of cruelty. And I would say, and this follows Jung as well, that that's incorrect, and it's dangerously incorrect, because if you are not capable of cruelty, you are absolutely a victim to anyone who is.
You cannot give up because it ain't what you see. You cannot give up. What you got to do is, you heard it, you read it. I sent it out on Twitter. I told you, champions keep going when they don't have anything left in their tank. I'm obsessed with improvement. Every day I'm getting better. There are those of you with phones, and every new phone that comes out, you get it. Every upgrade, you get it. Every piece of software, you get it. You are upgrading your technology, and you've not upgraded yourself. That's the difference between the greats. That's what separates them. When they don't have no more, when it's over, when they're tired, when they're frustrated, when they're ready to give up, when they spent their last dime, that's when they get started. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be the best at this company, right? But your value system says you believe in sleep more than you believe in grinding. Your value system says you are a consumer and not a producer. Listen to me, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, when you ain't got nothing left in your tank, you got to think about the people in your life that you're doing this for. And then if you could think about them, you could go one more mile. You could go one more day at work. You can find a scholarship. Listen to me, when you're doing it for somebody else, when you like that lion, if I don't grind, if we don't grind, if I don't grind, they don't eat. The truth is, you got to find something within. You got to find something within, and that's got to push you, and that's got to elevate you, and that's got to drive you, and that's got to move you. And when you find out what your why is, and your why got to be deeper than you, when you find your why, you don't hit snooze no more. When you find your why, you find a way to make it happen. It's when you have nothing left. It's when you depleted all your money, when all your energy gone, when you have nothing left, that's when it's showtime. When you find the way out of no way, when you find breath that you don't have, when you find energy that did not exist, when you want this thing as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you find a way.
Everybody is never going to be where they want to be in life because sometimes they focus too much on the bad things and not claiming the good times. Not claiming, hey, no matter what struggle I go through, I am going to make it. The beauty about the process is that you're learning something. You're learning about yourself. You're learning how to go through certain things. And you're learning how to build up. We are human beings, and human beings sometimes act on emotions. But you have to harness your emotions. You have to understand that you got to go through something to get to the level that you want in your life. Make this day count. Put all your energy, put all your power into what you do today. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep fighting for it. You got to keep trusting in yourself. You got to keep pushing because you got unfinished business. If you do not hold on to the goodness within you, then all the bad things that are surrounding you right now will ultimately destroy your possibilities and taking yourself further in your life. Don't you realize that you got to have faith in yourself every single day of your life? Maybe you did get rejected. That doesn't mean that you're out the game. That doesn't mean that it's over. You got to keep moving on. Take the steps. Maybe take a few steps back. Analyze the situation. And then keep pushing. Keep going. Stay hungry and believe. Just keep on grinding. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. But keep on grinding. You're gonna have those bad days. But keep on grinding. You're gonna wanna quit. But keep on grinding. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very important part of your life. It is a decision that you have to make within yourself. No one is responsible for that.
Now, I'm not telling you to not acknowledge your pain. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you not to say, man, I'm going through this and it's hard. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you go through it, look at it, step back from the picture and say, okay, I'm dealing with this. 9 out of 10 times, there's somebody else that's either dealt with it or they're going to deal with something similar to this. And if I deal with it in the right way, I can use it to add value to lives of other people. The funny thing was, I had never heard of the injury that I suffered. Never heard of it. When I went through it, I met probably 10 guys years after that have been going through it, that I could talk to at different stages and phases in the process and say, hey man, Ink, how did you deal with this? How did you deal with this? When they told you this, how did you accept that? And I was like, bingo, this is how I got through it. But I had to shift my perspective from why me to why not me? Can you take the things you learned that made you great in that sport and apply them to other areas and aspects of your life to make you just as great as a person? Man, it's funny. I think the true measure of wealth is happiness, right? Like I really do. And that's not saying that I'm against money. I'm not against that at all. Because you gotta work hard, make your money to take care of your family and be able to bless people. But I think it's a lot of people with so-called wealth and they don't have joy and they don't have happiness, right? And I feel like joy, happiness is peace is the most important things we can possess, right? And for most people, their material possessions, they feel are the most important. For me, when you got joy, when you got peace, when you got happiness, I think that's true wealth. Because you can't put a price on that. Like for me, people can't understand. A guy asked me just yesterday, what do you think about stem cell? Why don't you go over to London or one of these places somewhere and try to get stem cell for your arm? And I was like, I got peace. And he's like, what does that mean? I was like, I'm good with my situation, right? Like I'm wealthy because of that. I got something that you can't put a price on. Right? You can't price out my joy. You can't price out my happiness. You can't price out my peace. Now, if I measure wealth by money, money is a number. Numbers never end, right? So you never catch it. Numbers never stop. If your happiness is predicated upon a number, if you're being wealthy is predicated upon a number, you'll get it. Then it's like, okay, I got to set it a little bit higher. The number will never end. And so therefore, you'll never be wealthy enough.
How bad do you want it? The dreams God has placed in your heart, the promises He's spoken to you are not going to come to pass without opposition, without delays, without people trying to talk you out of it. There will be plenty of opportunities to get discouraged, to lose your passion and think that it's not meant to be. But if you're going to reach your destiny, you have to have a made-up mind. If you give up after the first time or the 5th time or the 30th time, what that really means is you didn't want it bad enough. There should be something you're believing for that you are relentless. You are not moved by how impossible it looks. You're not discouraged by how long it's taking. You don't give up because people told you no. Your attitude is, if I have to believe my whole life, I am not going to stop believing. I am not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to settle for mediocrity. I'm going to keep pursuing what God put in my heart. You can't be passive and indifferent. You have to have a holy determination. It's more than just your will. It's a fire on the inside, a knowing that it's supposed to be yours. When everything says it's not going to happen, instead of getting discouraged, you kick in to a new gear. Normal people would give up. Normal people would settle, but you're not normal. You want it on another level. When David was 17 years old, the prophet Samuel anointed him as the next king of Israel. But David didn't go to the palace. He went back to the shepherd's fields where it was lonely. He was overlooked, mistreated by his family. When he finally did go to the palace to serve King Saul, Saul became jealous of David and tried to kill him. David had done no wrong, yet he had to live on the run, hiding in caves, spending months out in the desert. He could have been discouraged, thought, God, this isn't fair. You anointed me to be king. Nothing is working out. But David didn't have a give-up spirit. He didn't feel sorry for himself. He didn't let circumstances talk him out of it. He had a warrior mentality. His attitude was, I am not quitting. I am not settling for mediocrity. I know there is greatness in me. I'm going to become who God says I am. One reason he took the throne is he wanted it bad enough. How bad do you want what God has put in your heart?